if you've ever had a dream and seen somebody snatch it away because they are not willing either to believe in your dream or they're not willing to allow you to believe in your dream because they fear your success will make them feel small. In any one of those cases, whether it's their jealousy of your success or their fear that when you succeed you'll leave them, or just their own inferiority that says, if you are a success, then that makes me a failure. If any one of those are the case, that person is not your leader. Because a leader builds up the dreams and hopes of others. A leader inspires the dreams of others. A leader helps to find a way for those things to happen rather than doing all they can to stop them. And that's what I want to talk about today on Leading Leaders. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. And, I wrote this book in 2011, Live a More Excellent Life. Chapter 13 talks about the dream thief. It talks about the number of times that we, all of us, at every level, encounter someone who says to us, you can't do that. Now, it may be you can't do that because it's never been done before, or you can't do that because you're not qualified, or it may be you can't do that because I don't believe in you, or it may be you can't do that because it seems to be beyond your reach, out of your league. It's more than you're capable of. But anybody who says to you, you can't do that, you're not allowed to do that, you're not capable of doing that, that person is not your leader. They've already disqualified themselves. Now, let me tell you something. As a leader, if your ego is so fragile that the ability to lift others up, to encourage them, to say to them, you can do this, I'm behind you, I will invest in you, at least I will invest my time, at least I will invest my belief in you, at least I will invest in you. And maybe you can't write a check, but at least you can believe in them. You can encourage them. You can ask them questions that will expand the idea that they're already working on. But how dare you as a leader tell them they're not qualified, or tell them they're not capable, or tell them they're not competent? Now, I'm not saying be unrealistic and blow smoke up people's skirt. I'm talking about the idea that you would forbid them in the most subtle ways out of your own insecurity. Or that you would challenge them to walk away from this dream, this ambition, this innovation, this new idea, because it would leave you in a lurch because, your most brilliant minds would be gone. If that's the kind of reason that you're not encouraging somebody to pursue a new idea, a new innovation, a new invention, shame on you. You really should take another assessment of yourself and your own values and your own moral compass. But understand, when you are the dreamer, when you're the one who says, I have these new ideas, I want you to think for a moment about that South African immigrant that came to the United States with a little bit of nothing. Now, granted, his family had a decent start, but he came with a little bit of nothing and has now built the only company that has launched and relanded the same rocket multiple times, has built an electric car that many people said was impossible, has purchased and launched companies of unbelievable magnitude that have global impact, with a very small start and an enormous dream. An enormous belief that I can, and therefore I will. I believe it was Henry Ford who was quoted as saying, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. There's a lot of truth to that. And the reason that that statement is so true is because we tend to modify our own behavior, our action or inaction, by what we believe about ourselves. I love the way John Maxwell says, believe everyone to be a 10. See them as a 10. See them as capable, competent, successful. See them as willing and able to do that thing. And your belief in them will be like a loan to them, almost like a $1 million bank loan. just believing that they can. See, my story, many, many instances, I remember singing songs, and it's all in the book, Live a More Excellent Life. It challenges you to ask yourself the question, how many instances in your life have similar instances occurred? Because when you think back through moments like I'm about to describe to you, you begin to see that there's probably a pattern in the things that you were called to do that you could have done better, but you allowed some dream thief to step in and tell you no. It was early in my life that I would sit in the backyard and literally just make up songs. They would be hours long. Making up a melody, making up the words, making up the lyrics as I go. And I remember my mom opening the sliding door probably 2 o'clock in the morning as I laid in the backyard on an old trailer and sang to the stars, "Stop singing! Nobody wants to hear that." And it wasn't long after that I pretty much put that on hold. It wasn't until middle school and high school that I actually performed with the high school performing choir in a group we called madrigals, where we would actually dress up in 14th century garb and go sing a cappella, and I sang the tenor part in a very small group. I didn't go on much after that. I've sung in a lot of different churches and I do a lot of karaoke, but never pursued it professionally, not even close. Didn't take any voice training beyond high school, none of that kind of stuff. But I do have friends who went on to, they live in Nashville now. The people that I was in choir with, the band Sierra, if you've ever heard it, Jennifer Hendricks and I actually sang together in high school choir. She was their lead singer for a long time. Ronnie Akins has been several times a contestant in the running to be on the show Shooting Star or America's Next Idol. These are people that I sang with all through high school, and we had the same dream, but I let go of mine. The science fair, my junior and senior year of the science fair, or was it sophomore and junior? Sophomore and junior year. I presented projects for the science fair. And one of those years, my partner and I actually took first place in physics with our own space shuttle. And he and I have run into each other since then and talked about that. And it was kind of funny that neither one of us went into anything like that. We just kind of moved on to our own thing. But the second year, I did my own project. I called it the Car of the Future. It ran on steam and electricity. But when I walked out of the gym that day with my first place trophy for physics and my first place trophy for overall science fair, a radio interviewer met me in the parking lot. He stuck a microphone in my face and he said, "You know, if you actually make that thing work, you'll defy Newton's law of physics." And I said, "Okay." And he laughed at me and he said, "What I'm telling you, son, is that there's absolutely no way that will ever work. It's not even possible. It's cool. It's fun that you won the science fair, but there's no way that thing will ever work." And he turned around and walked away, and I turned and threw that science project in the dumpster, and I walked away from it. Never touched it again. Not even close. I want you to understand that as a leader, you may hold more influence to solving the world's energy crisis than you know. You may have in your care right now someone who has the next polio cure vaccine level idea in their head. And whether you're willing to encourage them and take a chance that their success skyrockets and yours doesn't, whether you're willing to encourage them and take a chance that 5 years from now they won't even know your name as they're doing the media circuit on every talk show in town, whether you're willing to take the chance that they build something you could never have dreamed of. Whether you're willing to take those chances or not, you owe it to them as a human, and you most certainly owe it to them as a leader to encourage them in their dream. As a leader, if you're so fragile that you can't see other people around you succeed when it's not your success, there's something wrong with your leadership. There's something wrong with your you. You need to work on that. But I'm telling you now, as a leader, you hold more power to the innovation of hope in our country, in our world, than you could ever imagine. And sometimes that hope rests in the ability to believe in somebody else's dream when you can't even see it. When that vision is so deep inside their head, when their heart is bubbling up with it, when they just want you to pat them on the back and go for it, man. That may be all they need from you. Go for it. A little bit of encouragement, a little bit of a push. Now, you may inside be saying, I have no idea how that individual could pull that off. But, there's a coffee shop, and now there are multiples of them. I remember hearing the story on 60 Minutes several years ago, but it's been duplicated now. Coffee shops where the entire staff of the coffee shop has Down syndrome. Think about that for a minute. Because normally you would think to yourself, somebody with a disability, if you will, of that magnitude, of that caliber, they're going to be hard, even high functioning, they're going to be hard pressed to have grand success in life. But there are now coffee shops that are run where the entire staff has Asperger's disease or Down syndrome or some other on the spectrum mental delay. They're not your average entrepreneur. They're completely different people. They deal with the public completely differently. But because somebody believed that they could and patted them on the back and encouraged them and said, go for it, they have. And they've succeeded. I wonder how many Elon Musk-like people are working workaday jobs, broken-hearted, broken-spirited, because someone told them you couldn't actually pull that off without blah, 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 whatever that limitation is, whatever that limiting belief is, whatever that capping of competence might be. You know what? Blow the cap off of it. If you're the leader, believe in your people. Encourage their dreams. Brainstorm with them. Build them up. Provide whatever resources you can, emotionally, physically, financially. Even if it's just to sit around the table and be a mentor, to be an advisor, to poke and prod at their dream, not to destroy it, not to deflate it, not to let all the air out of it, but to bolster it in those places where it's going to be delicate for others that might try to poke a hole in it. If you can ask the right questions, you can help them build a bulletproof dream. But if you are so fragile in yourself that you can't allow someone else to succeed, then you need to find your own mentor. You need to find your own leader. You need to find someone who's willing to speak into your life and build up your own courage. You need to grab some of those same Maxwell books and leadership books that say, here's how you can change the way you believe about you. Here's some mindset stuff. And by all means, grab this one. Live a More Excellent Life is a collection of stories that help me walk out of the misery of my own self-doubt, my own self-hatred, my own self-loathing. It came about at a time that my entire life was shifting, and a lot of it started with that story of my wife saying to me, I need you to see you the way I do. She believed in me when I didn't. She believed in us when I didn't. She had hope for our relationship when I didn't. Here we are 18 years later, rocking along. That concept in our lives, that someone would believe in us, that we can turn a corner and do something different, that makes all the difference in the world. And you've got to be willing to pour into yourself that way. But more than anything else, as a leader, the hope of the free world, the hope of the world as a whole, may rest in the fact that you have in your care someone with the answer to many of the problems that we face. And whether those things ever come to light or not may be solely dependent on you and your willingness to say, you got this. I'm behind you. I believe in you. Go do it. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, or Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.